Now, Netflix has quietly added a disclaimer to its marketing for The Crown. This happened today. It looks a little bit like a climb down. Dame Judi Dench slammed the series earlier in the week, saying it was cruel for not carrying a warning. So to discuss all this, I'm joined by The Sun's royal editor, Matt Wilkinson. Hello, Matt. Thanks for coming in. I mean, you might say this is a coup by Netflix because they have managed to prolong this controversy about whether they should make it absolutely clear that this is fiction or whether they shouldn't. Everyone's been pitching in. John Major, Sir John Major, former Prime Minister, Dame Judi Dench, a national treasure and icon. I mean, you know, absolutely Uncle Tom Copley and all have joined in with this, saying they should, they shouldn't, they shouldn't, they should.
Well, it's great publicity,
yeah,
isn't it, for Netflix? Great publicity for The Crown. I've been on the phone I've been speaking to Netflix and the Palace quite a lot this week about what's been happening and whether they're going to put a disclaimer on. And they are adamant that they're not going to put a disclaimer on the episodes. So that's what Dame Judi was asking for, that's what Sir John Major was kind of hinting towards, and that's kind of behind the scenes what the Palace would perhaps like. What they've done is they've had a disclaimer on the trails, on the trailer, on the Twitter, on the YouTube, which says that it's a fictional dramatisation, which is kind of a halfway house. They're almost making a disclaimer on the episodes.
Yes. And when Dame Judi Dench wrote to The Times, and The Times made it a big article on page 3, and then it was in every other paper, it was all over social media, saying, you know, this is cruel, this is personal, this is malevolent, this is whatever she said it was, you know, there really must be a disclaimer. And she said, I think that very much people in other countries, I think she probably means Americans, don't realise it isn't a documentary, and they really do need to have it pointed out to them. It was suggested that Dame Judi was prompted or encouraged into doing this by members of the royal family. Can you shed any light on that?
I hope so. Publicly, the Palace will not engage with the Crown. The King and the Queen are rising above this, and you know they're not going to talk about the Netflix. I think that maybe they were aware a letter was going to come out, but they are at pains to point out that at no stage have they ever put any pressure on Dame Judi or put any pressure on Netflix or the Crown to add a disclaimer or to make any calls to the disclaimer. I think privately, behind the scenes, yes, they would like a disclaimer. Yes, Charles, although he's not walking around, you know, angry or fuming about it, I think he likes the idea that people are now becoming to be more aware that it is a factual dramatisation rather than facts. But it's interesting to talk about people in you know the countries, because you're right, you know, in America and places like that, they may see this as a historical documentary, which it isn't.
I mean, one of the things I personally have found is that I felt extremely conflicted about watching it, because when you watch a scene in it, it's so beautifully acted, it's so beautifully staged, it's so accurate for the time, so chronologically sound. It looks just like you remember it, if you remember it, or like the pictures, if you've seen the pictures. And once you've seen a scene, even though in your head you're telling yourself, they can't possibly know what the Queen and Prince Philip said to each other in the royal boudoir. You know, they must be making this stuff up. But once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. And once you've seen it, you can't help thinking, well, it must have really been that way. There's something very clever about the way it does kind of suck you in.
Well, you've seen the trailer. It looks great, doesn't it?
Tell people, describe the trailer to people.
The trailer's fantastic. It's loud, it's energetic. It's got the Queen talking about her Annus Horribilis.
We can see it now on screen.
I think there's the scenes where she's actually there in the fire at Windsor Castle. Plenty of images of Princess Diana, who seems going to be the main focus of this, the Diana and the breakup of her marriage. But yeah, it's a very well done show, and that's the problem. People might start thinking that it veers into reality, and that they are, in this disclaimer, they have said that the conversations that they're reporting on are conversations that they're almost imagining that happen behind the scenes.
Well, definitely imagining, because Sir John Major was adamant and absolutely furious, wasn't he? Spitting tacks, saying, I never had a conversation with the then Prince Charles, now the King, saying that the Queen should abdicate. We never would have done, we never could have done. It's absolutely abhorrent to even think that we did. This is malicious, manipulative, fiction of the worst kind, blah, blah, blah. I mean, he is absolutely furious about it. And of course, more and more people who are still alive at this moment, or whose children are very much alive and kicking, are now being featured in the show.
Well, the thing with Sir John Major is that he was able to speak out about that. The King he's now the king. He's not able to talk out about this publicly. So, it was quite helpful, I think, to the royal family that Sir John Major and Dame Judi Dench have said this, but as I say, off their own back, without any pressure from the palace.
We do have a picture of the disclaimer, so we can kind of see what it is that they're saying. I don't know, I can't read that without the right sort of glasses. Inspired by real events, this fictional dramatisation tells the story of Queen Elizabeth II and the political and personal events that shaped her reign. That's what they say. That is a bit confusing when you think about it, isn't it?
It is a little, but I think the palace would look at that and say, well, if you're going to put that on the trailer, if you're going to put that out as as press statements that we're receiving, saying this is how we're playing it, then why not just put that at the start of the episode? Why not do it? You've
just
said this.
tell people who might not twig why this is a big deal. What are the sorts of things that are going to be in the forthcoming series that might cause the new king and queen anxiety and might make them think, oh my God, we really thought people had forgotten all this now, and we're very pleased to embrace Camilla as queen consort, but actually this might rake up all sorts of old embers and it really might do terrible harm to our popularity, etc.
Well, yeah, the world was a different place for the royal family back in the 90s. There was, we can't rewrite history, there was a bitter breakup between Princess Diana and Charles. It was very well documented. It was front pages of every paper.
Yeah.
Lots of scandals that went on. There was lots of briefing between Charles's team and Diana's team, putting stories out about each other. And it's that raking over those old stories and then presenting them to a new, younger generation when we're now in a situation where the king isn't in a bitter breakup relationship. He's doing well as a king at the moment, and he's very happily married. I mean, I was out with him on Tuesday, and he seemed to be.
I like that name dropping. I was out with the king on Tuesday. Where were you?
He was at a lovely job in Walthamstow. Actually, it's fantastic. And this is what he was doing. He was being the king. He was going out, meeting the community, talking.
I want to be able to say that I was out with the king on Tuesday. But next time, invite me. I'd love to come.
I'll have a word and see if you can
Thank you very much indeed. And Matt, so great to have you on the programme. Thank you very much indeed.